Well, no offense to the professional counselors. When I did go to them, they were like, isme bhi nahi hoga, usme bhi nahi hoga. You won't get into this school, you won't get into that school. I don't think this could happen for you. Maybe you could go get into, a school which doesn't take school grades or even the SATs, and I had done pretty decent in the SATs, and I was like, okay, I don't know what's stopping, and then I don't know, it just felt it did not give me a good vibe about myself. I think at that time I decided I just want to do this entire process on my own. It happened after I graduated school because when I saw like admissions were opening, and I thought that do I really want to study psychology in India? Because I, at the time, did not think that there's a huge scope yet. I hoped, and even now that I've come back, I still don't think that there's a huge scope. Here, when I talk to my friends, some people have taken up HR, right? There's a reason. I mean, I'm pretty sure. Actually, I'm not sure. Maybe they were interested in it. Maybe they did it for the money. But my other friends who did take up clinical psychology and becoming a therapist or anything like that, they do not. Their only concern is that they are not getting paid well. So yeah, I always had a lot of fun. So by the time I went to school, I was done partying. So by the time I went
Wow.
to so by the time I went to Purdue, I was really tired of partying.
That's very interesting when you said that you were done with parties when you were 21, and I was like, okay. To all the participants or the audience that is viewing this, welcome to another podcast where we are trying to help students by sort of sharing some stories about studies abroad and having some unfiltered conversations around the pros and cons, the lifestyle choices, uh, the networking choices that one makes out there. Also, most importantly, how they went around with their SOPs, all that stuff to make you really get inspired by and learn from people who have actually been there and done that. So, without wasting much time on that, I'll try to introduce to the best of my abilities, Vasudha, who is here with us today. She is an alum of a very renowned university, Purdue, and she is here to share her experiences around the study abroad thing. Now, probably it would be best if I let Vasudha really explain and take her through her introduction of where she started, let's say starting from school to how she landed up in Purdue particularly. So Vasudha, over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the introduction. Um, yeah, so my name is Vasudha Shah, and I switched quite a few schools when I was growing up because we were moving. And I graduated from Cambridge Foundations. That's in Delhi, and then after that I took a year's gap, and then after that I was in the year's gap I was contemplating as to what I wanted to do. Ever since I was a kid, ever since grade 9, I think. What's that? 13 years old? I don't know. I wanted to do psychology, and I was pretty clear on that. And it took me pretty my parents were very open to it of me doing psychology, so that worked out. And then I took a year's gap because I wanted to figure out like which school do I want to apply to and study for the SATs and all of that. So I did that. I scored pretty well, pretty decent in the SATs, and that just took me to Purdue. And I had applied to a couple universities. I got touch wood. I mean, thankfully, I got in all of them. My first attempt, so that was fun. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It was like starting for the SATs. That was a little hard for me because it was a new thing for me at the time, and I had just graduated school, and all of my friends were going to colleges, and I wasn't, and I was just confused as to if I'm doing the right thing or not. And what I was 19, 18. So at 18, what do you even know about your life anyway? So, well, not gonna lie, even at 24, you don't know much. But yeah, so at 18, I did not know much about my life, but I was very lucky that I had I have my siblings and my family is super supportive, so they were like really open to helping me throughout the journey. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
So, when it came to studying abroad, particularly after attending Cambridge School in Delhi, who were the agents involved in your life who were trying to align that decision for you? Let's say your parents, your cousins, who were the most influential people? And also, let's say the helping hands in that area. Was it just personal family help that you sought, or was it also some professional counselor guidance? How was it like?
Um, well, no offense to the professional counselors. When I did go to them, they were like, isme bhi nahi hoga, usme bhi nahi hoga. You won't get into this school, you won't get into that school. I don't think this could happen for you. Maybe you could go get into, a school which doesn't take school grades or even the SATs, and I had done pretty decent in the SATs, and I was like, okay, I don't know what's stopping, and then I don't know, it just felt it did not give me a good vibe about myself. I think at that time I decided I just want to do this entire process on my own. I did not want to take anybody's help. Honestly, it all just comes down to yourself, and the only person that you can really depend on is yourself.
If you talk about the timeline per se, so when you were completing your 12th, when exactly did you start applying, or when exactly did you think of studying abroad? Was it in 11th, 12th, or after you completed your 12th? What was the timeline like?
It happened after I graduated school, because when I saw like admissions were opening, and I thought that, do I really want to study psychology in India? Because I at the time did not think that there's a huge scope yet. I hoped, and even now that I've come back, I still don't think that there's a huge scope. It's just my personal opinion. It's not, it's not going to reflect someone else's life. I hope it doesn't, but it's just my opinion at this time. That I also have like my friends who graduated from the same school, high school. They're doing psychology, they did psychology. Now some of the people are either into HR, or they're psychotherapists and all of that, and I don't think that I just feel that I made the right decision of going and studying psychology, pursuing it in a different country than India.
Right, but when you talk about expanding on the job opportunities which you just mentioned, uh, when you say that there are not many opportunities in India per se, do you still feel the same when you have come back and let's say spend some time here in India? And what is like your expectation of the future? Is it like a field that is upcoming now? Is it something that might take a while to come up and no one should really align their future towards psychology if they are particularly looking forward to settle in India with the same goals? What's your view on that?
No, I just feel you should never like confine yourself to a certain state of mind. I think you should
Mm-hmm.
always be open with ideas and all of that. Um, India is a great place to study, especially it's awesome. But I just feel that, again, as you said, that it will take quite a few years before it actually, develops and becomes a thing. I just feel people don't talk about mental health a lot, which I think they should. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Kabhi kabhi aata hai when, an actor dies or passes away, but nobody ever, like, in general life, do not think about depression, PTSD, OCD, other disorders like that. They don't think about it, they don't talk about it. It's a huge stigma, abhi bhi, even in 2020. So I just feel, yeah, having said that, when you study in the US, things are normal there. This is all normal. Talking about all of this is really normal. No, people actually uh, give a damn about talking about depression, or they actually give their 2 cents about it. But here in India, they don't. So
What are the budding psychologists or people who study all of that are up to in India right now? So you talked about a few career choices when it came to HR or let's say personal counseling agents. I mean, could you please expand on that a bit? What are the career options that are available and good in India when it comes to your field?
here, when I talk to my friends, some people have taken up HR, right? There's a reason. I mean, I'm pretty sure. Actually, I'm not sure. Maybe they were interested in it. Maybe they did it for the money. But my other friends who did take up clinical psychology, and becoming a therapist or anything like that, they do not. their only concern is that they are not getting paid well. This field sadly doesn't pay that much. My friends are now trying to pursue PhD in psychology, or maybe trying to go out to a different country and study psychology there so that they can get paid well, is all. Yeah.
So for people who, let's say, don't know about this profession in HR or clinical psychology, could you in a minute just explain both these professions in a little nuanced manner so that everyone understands what you are talking about?
Right. So in clinical psychology, basically there are therapists, right? So there is psychotherapy done or therapy done for people to, if you have a disorder or something like that, or if you're going through, even if you want somebody to listen to you, give you advice, talk to you, rationalize your past, maybe talk about your childhood memories, try to like straighten them out, all of that, for all of those things, you go to a therapist, you go to a psychologist, you go to a psychiatrist, right? But yeah, and for on the other hand, for HR, what happens is you can do psychology, and then you can get do your MBA and get into HR or marketing or anything like that. Psychology honestly is a field which you can apply. I mean,
In a lot of areas.
it's a subject that you can apply to everything. Everything has a psychology behind it because every human has it, right? Every human has a human
Mhm.
psyche. So everybody talks about it, everybody thinks about it, but they would never ever say it uh, in certain countries. So
Right. And coming to that, I mean, you also have applied it in a very creative manner. When I read about you, you have applied it in the areas of user experience and product
mhm,
design. And I mean, that says a lot about the vastness or the enormity of this particular course,
right.
how it's really applicable. So, but would you agree to the fact that, for example, for any budding uh, psychologists or any people who are very much interested in this subject, but then who might also be a little fearful about the job opportunities here in India per se,
Yeah.
would you agree to the fact that if anyone is interested in this field, they should definitely blindly go ahead with it? And ultimately, if one has an interest in certain things, they figure out their opportunities, they create their opportunities, build their own initiatives. And right now, when it comes to this particular country where mental health is a major requirement, and to talk about is a major requirement, even if lakhs of people would do, even then we need a lakh more in this country to go about the thing, spread awareness. So,
Yeah.
would you agree to that fact, or do you think we should just be driven by job opportunities? And
Oh no, no. I don't think that that's I. Okay, the good part about my past experiences is I had the opportunity and had the privilege to follow my dreams, and I was very lucky enough that I got the resources which most of the people do not get. Again, having said that, you have to make your own choices in life, you have to make your own decisions in life. Even a person who does not have the resources, they can still make opportunities for themselves if they really want to. So no, you should not, I mean, the answer to this is no, you should not be driven by job opportunities. Definitely do what you like, and then after that kahin se bhi kuch bhi aa jayega, definitely aa jayega, abhi nahi to baad mein, sooner or later you'll get it.
that's definitely very inspiring. So, thank you for pointing that out. Okay, so if we talk about this particular course selection journey, uh, how did you go about it? Was it particularly driven by the university reputation as a priority, or was it? I mean, I feel it was more of, in your case, driven by your passion, which was psychology, and looking at a course which had the requirements that you needed. So, how did you go about the course selection journey?
The course selection was simple. I mean, for me, as I told you, I had already decided that I wanted to do psych. Right. After that, it was simple. I just either there was BA in psychology or there was BS in psychology. There was psychological sciences or brain and behavioral sciences. I did not personally want to get into medical side of it, but I still ended up doing pre medical sciences from Purdue. Like I pursued psychological sciences, and I had a minor in human development. So it was an easy course selection for me since I knew that I wanted to do that. Even though I mean, I had done medical and biology based courses in my high school as well, so that was something that I was interested in at the time. But I ended up not becoming a doctor. That was simple. The course selection process was simple for me because I knew what I wanted to do. But having said that, I did take my sweet time to adjust to this fact that I wanted to pursue it outside my country. So that took me 1 year, right? I graduated high school in 2015. My course started in Jan 2016. So
Right, right. And when you came about this, the most difficult part in one's journey, which students perceive, is to be the SOPs, the essays, the LORs, that derive most of the admissions there. So, how was your experience, and what was the path or the exercise that you undertook to really go about drafting those amazing SOPs that got you there?
mhm. There was no hard and fast rule. So I used to read a lot, as I said. Again, not fiction. I'm just not a fan. I am more of a visual learner. I also used to watch a lot of videos as to how to go about it, as to how to write it, and I also took someone's help, an outside person, someone's help just to like proofread it, a professional's help. So I did that. I also made every person in my family read all my SOPs and all of those things. That I did that. There were multiple essays also that I had to do for separate university. That's a requirement by them. So I did that. I got into all the universities I think that I had applied to. And yeah, I mean, I it does take you quite a few time, quite a lot time. uh, I had first made like an Excel sheet where I'd have like all the universities written down, the money that it would take, the cost of it, the tuition, the state wise cost as well. Like every state has a different living cost, right?
Right,
So
right.
that was that. And then yeah, and then the reputation, the ranking, uh, the job opportunities after that, all of that. So I took a note of all of that. I did my due diligence of research before diving into it. And yeah.
Right. So all in all, by your research and your intuition broadly, you made it. I mean, if people are under the impression of definitely having a professional help to make it to university like Purdue, or even better universities like, let's say, the higher ranked universities, any university around that, people have these misconceptions that you need to have those professionals help or counselors help. And that's ideally not the case, like you expressed. And you can
No.
definitely do it yourself. And but when you talk about this professional help that you undertook, do you recommend that people should definitely get one professional helper on board to review your SOPs, and
I just
how to go
feel
about it?
reviewing is extremely important. You should always be open to like, criticism, constructive
Hmm.
criticism, or any sort of help. I mean, I'm a big believer of take all the help in the world. Even if somebody says that this question is stupid, well, no question is stupid to be honest, like in my opinion. But having said that, I feel that हेल्प थोड़ा सा ले लेना चाहिए बाहर से अगर हो रहा है तो if you have the resources take थोड़ा सा help. I only took थोड़ा सा help. Having said that, I basically took one person's help just to proofread it. I wrote the SOP on my own. I wrote the essays on my own in certain cases. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I wrote all of those things on my own. It took a lot of time. When you the thing is with professionals, they know what they're writing. तो जल्दी हो जाता है. अगर time constraint है and you have the resources, go ahead, get professional help. But I just feel when you write it on your own, so there's a personal touch to it. You can actually tell your story. You can actually express how desperately you want to do psychology or a course that you want to do, and why do you need it? Why do you need to do it so badly? All of those things only you can answer. The person can only they won't be writing. I think there was a teacher that I had. She said, "What comes from the heart goes to the heart," and I think that's how I got it. I don't know that
That,
even if it makes sense, but I just feel that's
no,
how
that
I
does.
I put all of my heart and soul into it before
Mhm.
applying. So yeah.
Just to paraphrase all of that you've said, so there are majorly two simple hacks to get around this mental journey. One is to, number one, pick that course or pick that area of interest and get busy about it. And second is to identify the people who you want to take criticism from, who you know that who genuinely have respect and love for you, and just close down on those people for feedback. And I think with that amount of hard work that you've put in, anyone can make it to their dream college with
Right.
whatever background they come from, with whatever scores they come from. It's just about majorly these two things that you have tried to revolve the conversation around.
I mean, at the time I did take coaching, right? Every student does, क्योंकि पता नहीं था कि कैसे करना है SAT crack. So I did take my coaching. It was helpful to a certain extent, but at the end, it all comes down to खुद से पढ़ना. You know, how
Mhm.
much you can put, how much effort you put. I took IELTS also. I've taken TOEFL also. I took the SATs also. For that matter, I've also taken the GRE. So I've taken all the exams that I had to in my journey.
But anyways, talking about the tests and the journeys of these examinations that you gave in IELTS, SAT, TOEFL, GRE. For what all did you take coaching for? I mean, was it just SAT or?
It was just SATs at the time because it was very new for me. The concept was very new. Nobody around me had ever taken it. Yeah, and I think out of all the people that I know of my age, mere group mein, I was the only one who was going. When I had joined the coaching, I was studying the SAT stuff, but I at the time did not like my SAT coaching so much. So I was just studying on my own. But that's the only coaching that I took. IELTS ke liye no coaching, TOEFL no coaching, and I had scored well in both.
Right. So see, we all through this conversation we have covered a lot of misconceptions around studies abroad. But is there anything that you would like to touch upon? Any sort of misconception that we haven't touched on, and would you mention them explicitly right here?
Because the whole point is, I thought that it would be really easy. Nothing about it was easy, at least for me. Nothing at all was easy for me. I had it was a very hard school to study in and survive. I graduated with a very good GPA. Purdue was a very hard school. I don't know if it's the same case for other people, but it was very, very hard for me. Because people in India, when they study, they have a different, एकदम ही different vision of studying. Exam से एक दिन पहले you study. एक दो ठीक है एक दो दिन एग्जाम से पहले and you were able to score 90 95, you know, it's easy for people. When I mean, unless you're studying like physics, chemistry, again for me you have to study, there's a process, right? But until grade 10th 11th, usually people don't study every day of their lives. They like अच्छा ट्यूशन का एग्जाम है उससे पहले पढ़ लो, स्कूल का एग्जाम है उससे पहले पढ़ लो. That's not how it works in the US. You have to be
Mhm.
consistent every day there. You have to the amount of homeworks that you get, the amount of personal projects that you get. I was also doing research, so basically I had been doing research for this is my 4th year in research, I think. Like it's 3+ years, so I've been doing research for a very long time now. I mean, student wise, I had been doing academic research for 3 years. I was also teaching a class of 200, 300 plus students there. I was a TA, teaching assistant. And then for human development, my professor was great. I was also the guest lecturer there. I School was not easy at all. I also had 2 to 3 jobs. I think I had 2 jobs. In my last semester, I think I had three, but mostly throughout school, I had at least minimum one job every semester I had. So that was that.
Right. So when you talk about this TAs and RAs, which students usually like to plan before they go there, and they try getting in touch with the teachers who were for the college they're getting admitted into, how easy or difficult it is, or let's say the ideal way that you see that there is to crack any TAs or RAs out in US.
So undergrad TA, I'll tell you about TA. So basically, when you are done with the course and you really and you do manage to get a good score. So the class that I was TAing, I had scored, I think, a perfect score throughout the entire semester. And at the end, and I used to talk to my professor generally also because I like talking. So I used to like, and my professor was extremely sweet, Dr. Cleveland Shields, super super sweet man. But initially, I did not know him at all. I just generally used to go to his office hours, ask him questions, talk about those questions, and then after at the end of the semester, I thought, hey, I would really like to TA this class. So it was a general email. Somebody had told me that, listen, this guy is looking for TAs, I think at the time. So I thought that, hey, let me just approach him. Let me just talk to him about if he's. And he did not have a lot of TAs before that. He only had grad TAs. He never had an undergrad TA. So I had approached him, and that's when for one entire year I started TAing with him. So that was that. And with the research assistantship, there was a little interview selection for the research assistant कि हमारे lab में कौन होगा कौन नहीं होगा. So that was that. And yeah, there was an interview selection. You have to pass that interview, and then after that you do get to become a research assistant. I have been research assistant for 3 different labs in within the psychology department and human development. So that was that. Really, like, you have to approach people before you even apply. So you have to start approaching professors before you even apply, that, hey, do you have space, are you looking for TAs at the time or RAs at this time? So they tell you that for the next semester we're open, we're not open. And then they talk to you about your experiences, how much knowledge you have, if your goals align or not, like both of your goals, like what I want to learn and eventually achieve, and what he has already achieved and now wants other people to learn. So basically, those goals have to be aligned. Yeah, and then they take an interview, and if everything falls mutually beneficial for both the parties, so yeah, then people go
Right.
forward.
So the journey is to be more initiated from the student side rather than the professor side. I mean, it was you who said
Definitely.
that you were applying to different professors and writing to
Mm-hmm.
them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a student-driven journey more than a institute-driven journey, right?
Yeah, definitely. Until and unless you're not a Marvel student, no professors are ever gonna get in touch with you. You have to take an initiative.
And now that you're also planning to go back in a while, uh, how is your dependency on the visa? Do you also reflect on how difficult it is to settle there, get a job there, or are you again going with a solid plan of coming back?
I can tell you from the beginning, when I was first going, processing visa is not that tough. Just fill it.
Mhm.
I did everything on my own. SOP लिखा, LOIs sign करवाए, मतलब उनसे भी लिए sign करवाए, all of that. Had the essays covered and all of that, and then got my visa, everything, passport redo करवाया, सब कुछ मैंने खुद करा. Nobody helped me in this process. वीज़ा स्टार्टिंग में तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं आया था, बाद में भी कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं आया. बाय द टाइम, सो दे बेसिकली गिव यू इयर्स एक्स्ट्रा वीज़ा. तो बेसिकली
Okay.
मुझे आई वाज सपोज्ड टू ग्रेजुएट 2019, व्हिच आई डिड, राइट? सो 2019 प्लस 1 year, so they give you 2020 का वीज़ा, and I graduated in December 2019, so spring 2019. So yeah, so 2020 तक का वीज़ा दे गिव यू. एंड 20 व्हेन यू ग्रेजुएट, उसके बाद 3 महीने का एक्सेलरेटेड वीज़ा होता है तुम्हारे पास, जिसमें तुम जॉब ढूंढ सकते हो, एंड देन यू कैन work there and get a work permit. So that's
Got it.
that.
Got it. Okay, so if let's say we have to particularly talk about your experiences there, any line of co-curriculars that you were a part of that you were interested in practicing there, extracurriculars, co-curriculars, while
Yeah,
your time in Purdue?
I was a peer mentor. I was a educational ambassador.
That
Peer
would really
mentor
help.
is basically, you are, first of all, I was a mentee myself.
Mhm.
So initially I thought it's going to be a piece of cake for me. I'm just going to get through. I'm a smart kid. Doesn't work like that. When you go in, I had to get into a mentor mentee program because I was not able to cope up with the competition around me. There was just too much competition around me, and I was not able to cope up. Again, that was really early when I had gone there. So I was assigned my mentor as Rachel, really sweet girl. She now she studies or have probably graduated. So at the time she was telling me how to get through life. So I was a mentee, and that actually changed my entire life. I did not even know what making a planner was at the time. I क्योंकि कभी किया नहीं ना लाइफ में. So मुझे प्लानर बनाना सिखाया, even though it's a very simple thing. But she started giving me weekly planners. This week what will you do? And that really helped me become more organized and really conscientious in life. Just yeah, that was really helpful from her end. So that's when I started getting into planning. Now moving on, then I tried to become a mentor as well. So they approached me, I think, for me to become a mentor. So there's a mentor mentee program that happens. So either no, I applied because I wanted to do something for other people, because somebody had done really good stuff for me. And that was in my third year, fourth year, that I applied for a mentor program, and I wanted to become somebody's mentor and help them. So I had three students under me, so I was mentoring them. So yeah, it was a very beautiful journey. They turned out to be great girls. So that was that. And then before that, I was an educational ambassador with you talk about more about like sexual exploitation, and how you can be how you can take the necessary precautions to get out of those. And you just there was just awareness that we had to do. So I was in that. Apart from that, MUN represented Purdue in Chicago. That was in my first semester. Multiple things that I had done during, and I had too many jobs, too many. So always had a job in my hand, because I do not like taking money from my parents. By the way, have been like that ever since I was a kid. I don't know why. I just don't like taking money from them. So even in college, I always had a job in my hand and always wanted to be independent. So yeah,
So these co-curricular programs that you're talking about, were they all paid in any sense, or
some
is it
were. Some
some
were
were? Okay.
paid, uh, the rest of them were not. That was basically at the time to learn more about life, um, to build your resume at the time, because you need to do a lot to get into grad school or get a good GPA. Sorry, to get a good job. But honestly, jobs don't. I mean, professionally, it doesn't matter. I think so. That how many co-curricular activities you're in, you just have to be very proactive with when companies come to your
Mhm.
school. You need to be really proactive at the time. You need to keep applying, look ahead, plan ahead. You just need to do all of that to get like a job. But yeah.
Got it. Got it. So, okay, so the next part is the very exciting part because people have a lot of questions around that, which is
Mhm.
particularly about the lifestyle there. So, how is it like for Indians? The dream cloud says it's more of partying, beaches, all that culture, the pop
Yeah.
culture that goes on. But how was it exactly? Let's say Purdue, what was the balance that you maintained, and how did you go through the lifestyle?
Hmm. I just feel ever since I was 15, I started partying way too early in life. I think 13, 14, 15. School ka counties hota and all of that. And I come from a Punjabi family. So we party a lot anyway. So, and my friends are really fun as well. So I actually have a very great company. Like, I'm very blessed with really good friends. They all mean well. So yeah, I always had a lot of fun. So by the time I went to school, I was done partying. so by the time I went
Wow.
to by the time I went to Purdue, I was really tired of partying. I mean, the first semester, so it's a huge thing there to become 21, to turn 21, and then go to clubs, right? I yeah, I had gone to clubs here in India before that, and their clubs are okay. I mean, I was studying at Purdue, which is in the Tippecanoe County, which is in Indiana, Indianapolis, Indiana. The state is Indiana, and then my school was in West Lafayette. Okay, so West Lafayette, Indiana, Tippecanoe County. So it's in the middle of nowhere. It's basically like a um, village sort of a thing, right? So there we had clubs. It was a lot of fun, but I couldn't go until I was 21. And I'd also promised my friend that I'd wait for her to turn 21. And then I broke that promise, of course. I'm sorry. And then it was just okay. I mean, it's a lot of fun. I used to go to Chicago. I also took a solo trip to New York, Chicago, Virginia. Um, I had gone to four different places. What was the other one? So I had saved up a lot of money and then took a solo trip. Now I don't remember. See, I don't remember what was the fourth place.
That's okay.
So yeah, I took a solo trip. I really liked having alone. Friends are fun, but I wanted to clear my head, get out of a certain space that I was in my head at the time. So Partying culture is fun. It's a lot of fun, but India ka parties hota hai. I mean, it's just like I feel what I feel. It was my I mean, I am a huge. I love dancing on Punjabi song, and that was not the case there. So that was that. But yeah, it was fun. You can have your own independence, chill a lot. But I became a nerd when I went there because I had partied way too much before that. So that was a weird part on my end. I just stopped partying when I was there.
Good. So you had a fair balance of parties, good academics, hard work, mentorship, or co-curricular programs. All of that fit in very well, probably because of your weekend planners or your journaling. I mean, things start falling in place,
No,
right?
no, I did not have a good balance. No, I feel
Okay.
I did not. I had
Yeah.
because we used to have a lot of all nighters. पूरे पूरे रात पढ़ते रहते थे पूरे. I studied a lot. I'm not
Mhm.
saying this to sound smart in any manner. I studied way too much. I had to push myself a lot. I After I went there, I thought that I was not as smart. So you push yourself even more. So I became smart with my hard work. I worked a lot. So yeah, that was that. But yeah, it was not a good balance at all. कभी कभी parties होता था 90% पढ़ना होता था ऐसा होता था. It was not a good
Okay.
balance. No.
Mhm. But that when you mention that good, not a good balance, I am sort of certain that you went through a lot of mental pressures even then. And I mean, there's a good saying that goes that mental therapists also need mental therapists for
Mhm.
them to take forward. And how was your mental journey per se, and how did you cope up with those pressures and stress? Uh,
I
Anything if you
just feel
remember around that?
I don't. At the time, I thought break क्यों लेना है. I even now this is just a habit of mine. I don't like taking breaks. I just like to keep going on and on and on. I do not. If I'm working on something, I can work on it continuously. There was a time when I couldn't even sit straight for 40 minutes, and now this is the time where I can work continuously for many hours without getting up. Again, I think it's just a part of growing up. But the mental journey was not very great. I think that's part of the reason why I came back. Was because I wanted to have a chill time. I think at the end I understood that how important it is to take breaks. It's
Mhm.
extremely important to take breaks. कि उस time पे लगता नहीं कि break चाहिए. At
Mhm.
that time you do not know or understand or even believe when you tell yourself this is the time to take a break. You can keep going on and on, but no, you just take a break even if you don't need it, because after a while it'll all pile up, and then it's a really bad show. So in your own head, nobody ever will get to know. It all comes down, just care for yourself, just have your self-care days, relax bit, take a break. It's extremely important.
So I mean, when you say that doing nothing is also very important at certain amount of time,
Yeah.
and that's definitely not looked up to as a positive thing when you are in India.
Mm-hmm.
But when you come from the Western culture and you say all of that, I think that's something very important to learn for all of us. That you need to take a break, reflect,
Mm-hmm.
breathe, and then probably decide where in which direction to move forward. And probably
Mm-hmm.
that's why when you said about these solo trips that you took or you came back to India, uh, it shows how conscious you were about your mental health, right? And probably now you might be aware of how much it has helped you. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, thank you for stating that out. So let's talk about the importance of networking and
Mm-hmm.
how you went about that.
So I had a very different journey when it comes to networking. Again, I'm an extrovert.
Mhm.
I was depressed in the first year of college. I think when I had gone, it's actually there's a term called first year depression. So that's in the books, not like it's a slang. It's actually a
Mhm.
real term which says first year depression, first term depression, or first year depression. So basically, that happens when you switch countries, move around. So I was actually depressed for a pretty long time. I mean 1 year is a significant period of my life, so of anyone's life. So I was not feeling happy at all. And at the time, even though I was an extrovert, that made me become turn me into an ambivert. That turned me into an ambivert, right? I introvert first,
Mhm.
and then dheere dheere I started like I initially in the first year I had panic attacks. I had anxiety attacks, and the reason why I'm even opening here about this is because I just want to let people know it's okay. It's really
Mhm.
okay. It happens. Just deal with it. Relax for a bit. Initially पता नहीं था क्या करना है कैसे करना है. It was very tough, and then I went alone also. Like there was nobody who dropped me there. I went alone. I was alone the entire time. It's not a very happy time when you're alone, right? So, and especially comes from my personality because I was an extrovert. I was very used to having people around me, talking to a lot of people, and getting into a shell of mine, like turning it,
Mhm.
coming to a shell of mine. That was not a good time. So I did not network during that time. Dheere dheere I started to, and so since I'm nice to people, I usually connect with them well. I'm a huge believer of helping people. When I say that I like taking help, asking questions, by that I mean asking questions. I also am a huge believer of true friendship and helping people, and that's how I think I form my connections. But at the time when I was in school, I wasn't thinking far ahead. I was not thinking. I was really like my mind at the time was constrained towards just working on my GPA, just doing well in school. ठीक है. मतलब पियर मेंटोर बन जाओ, एम्बेसडर बन जाओ, ये बन जाओ, वो बन जाओ, वो चल रहा था उस टाइम. रिसर्च कर लो, टीए बन जाओ, ये सब चल रहा था उस टाइम पे. आई wasn't thinking about connecting with people at all. I ended up with having a lot of friends. Like when I graduated, I had too many friends. But at the time, I wasn't thinking. Whereas, like the whole point of this is, when I graduated school, Purdue, I came back. That's when I actually started to make connections. Now I think I know that making connections is really important, and I think you can do that via LinkedIn as well. That's an
Mhm.
extremely important tool. Making connections via LinkedIn is so important. Just put yourself out there, show your profile to people, tell them that you're open to work, what kind of work you want. Ask people to, help me for just 10 minutes, talk to me for, schedule 10 minutes of there are UX coffee hours. Like I can tell you like UX stuff as well,
Mhm.
like UX coffee hours. You can also like talk to people generally as well, tell them, request for like 10 minutes of their work, of their time, and talk to them, learn more about it, and figure out what kind of life do you want, what kind of field you want to get into. Because when we're in school or college or Purdue, you just, you just don't know what kind of life do you want after this, and that's really important. So look at the bigger picture. So make
Mhm.
connections, make meaningful and valuable connections instead of just making like connections. So yeah.
Got it. Got it. So before we move forward, I really want to appreciate and acknowledge all that you have mentioned because uh, I understand all of it is very difficult to open about, but then also I understand that the frame that you come from, it's important to share such journeys, especially about mental health, because it inspires a lot of people, right? And when you do that, it also personally is inspiring me about how you, as a person who is probably meeting me for the first time and is right now talking to a larger audience as well, is so confident about expressing herself. It is definitely very inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you.
So one major question. So when you now that you are from Purdue, uh, how do you, and you also have friends who are, let's say, not who have not studied out from US or anywhere abroad, but they have studied in India. How do you feel? Is it sort of any easy for you to get a job or get a high paid job or initiative or any high paid opportunity when you come from a university of that background, in comparison to, let's say, if you're studying in India and in the same field? I mean, if you have some sort of friends in the same field like yours, any sort of comfort that you feel that Purdue has given you?
I mean, I can answer this question when I go back and tell you that how I acquired jobs in the US. So that
Mhm.
was easy with Purdue's name.
Mhm.
Easier, like it comparatively easy. It wasn't easy at all, but it was comparatively easy to get an offer or two in the US in
Mhm.
comparison to other universities, definitely because Purdue has a name. So that was good. But in India, I don't know, because when I came back, COVID started. It wasn't super easy here initially. It wasn't that easy, but yeah, I got a lot of offers here. So I don't know if it was because of my qualities or it was because of my knowledge of UX, or was it because I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
I know,
It
definitely
could
all of it
also,
sums up.
I
Yeah.
think me getting a job here or offers here at all could also be because of me pestering people that hey, please talk to me. So yeah, so
But that's very important, like you said,
very
that's a
important.
part of
Again,
networking and you should do it.
yeah.
Let's say if you have to reflect back to for your life in the US, and is there, let's say, any mistakes that you would at this point of time want to avoid and redo in a different manner, if there are any, uh, anything that you have that person?
Yeah, so initially I had regrets. Sorry, initially I was reflecting on it and I thought कि हाँ मतलब यार ये नहीं करना चाहिए था, वो नहीं करना चाहिए था. It, it's okay. But what I would change or go back and redo is genuinely start studying from the first day. आई थिंक दैट्स एवरी स्टूडेंट्स लास्ट डे के एग्जाम पे पहले ही पढ़ लेता. अभी भी ये लगता है मेरे को आफ्टर हैविंग पास्ड ऑल माय एग्जाम्स एंड डूइंग रियली गुड लाइक आई ग्रेजुएट विद फ्लाइंग कलर्स. आई थिंक एट द एंड आई थॉट दैट फर्स्ट डे से पढ़ना चाहिए था, तो एंड में बहुत मेहनत नहीं करनी पड़ती.
Right.
लास्ट सेमेस्टर तक इतनी मेहनत नहीं करनी पड़ती, या फिर थोड़ा पहले से प्लान कर लेना चाहिए था. सो आई थिंक प्लानिंग इज वन थिंग दैट्स एक्सट्रीमली इंपॉर्टेंट. आई लर्न दैट एट Purdue. No, I think my life taught me that planning is extremely important, maybe in terms of finances, maybe in terms of padhai, maybe in terms of making connections and getting a job. Planning is
Mhm.
extremely important, so that I would have changed. Planning I should have done from the very first day that I landed in the US. Initially I should have asked dumb questions as well, you know from my counselor. So we're assigned student advisors, so I think I should have asked dumb questions. I shouldn't have been a little, I was a little laid back, and I was also a little nervous to ask them questions. So I think just getting comfortable. If somebody is not making you feel comfortable, try to create that zone for them. So
Mhm.
I think that's really important. um, Nothing else that I can remember right now. So
That's very valuable, especially the second point, asking dumb questions. It's
very
very, very
important.
strong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, on a closing note, any sort of advisory, preparatory advisory you would want to give out, let's say to the 12th or to the college grads going for postgrad there, any sort of advisory that you have on plate for them?
I think before giving an advice, I just feel doing undergrad, because most of the people go for masters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then get a job and then settle. Very few people go for undergrad, and undergrad karke they come back.
Mm-hmm.
Very few people do that. So I think my first advice would be, मतलब जितना मैंने देखा, I'm not sure. So my first advice would be, if you set your mind to doing something, just do it. Like, don't look back, don't listen to anybody, even your parents sometimes. Just like sometimes, right? Not all the time, but like sometimes, if you have set your mind to something and you have the resources, just go ahead, do it. Don't listen to anyone, because the kind of education and the kind of system that you can follow and find and learn more about
Mm-hmm.
from the outside, which is not the same country, that's so valuable. I don't because I genuinely feel that I have learned really good lessons living alone. Living alone is an extremely different experience, especially when you're 18, 19. It's extremely different living alone without your parents. I thought that I would never be able to do that. It was actually not that hard. Living alone and without your family, you do miss them a lot. Take a break. uh, Very important. Take a break, listen to your mind, your heart, and take care of your mental health. I'm really not saying this just because I'm a psych grad. It's extremely important, otherwise there'd be a huge downfall, and then that
Mm-hmm.
is something that is very uncontrollable.
Awesome. So I think with that very valuable advice, we can really sum it up. Thank you for expressing all of that.